Have you ever stopped to wonder why you talk the way you do? Why your voice sounds like your voice? Why your accent betrays where you're from? Why your tone shifts depending on who's listening? What if I told you that your voice is not just a sound, but a verdict? A silent judge that decides where you belong, how much respect you get, even how much you're worth in the invisible economy of society. You think you're just speaking. But every time you open your mouth, you're trading in linguistic currency. Sometimes it buys you power. Other times it bankrupts you. And the disturbing truth is this: the way you talk says far more about you than you realize. Your voice is not random. It's a map of your history, your class, your tribe, your hidden fears, and your survival strategies. Listen carefully. Why do people suddenly deepen their voice in a boardroom? Why do immigrants soften their accents in job interviews? Why do children learn early that certain words spoken at home must never escape into the classroom? Because your voice is never neutral. It's a negotiation with power. Michel Foucault once said, "Discourse is not just communication, it's control." And Pierre Bourdieu gave it a name: linguistic capital. Speaking the right way buys you status. Speaking the wrong way costs you opportunity. This is why your voice shifts constantly. You're not just talking, you're surviving. Think you were born neutral? Think again. Neuroscience shows that babies recognize and prefer familiar voices within days of birth. Catherine Kinsler, a psychology professor at the University of Chicago, discovered that even toddlers prefer playmates who speak in the same accent as their parents. Not the same race, not the same clothes, but the same sound. Pause here. Let that sink in. Before you even knew what words meant, your brain was already writing rules about who to trust, who to avoid, and who to belong with. By adulthood, this wiring becomes prejudice. The foreign accent is judged less intelligent. The wrong dialect sounds less competent. The exact same words are valued or dismissed based on sound alone. Your identity is hacked, not by what you say, but by how you say it. Take Manuel Fragante. War veteran. Valedictorian. Law degree. Perfect English. Perfect test scores. He applied for a job at the DMV. He was more qualified than anyone else. But the panel didn't like one thing: his Filipino accent. He sued. He fought. He lost. The court ruled that rejecting a man for his voice was not illegal. He wasn't rejected for lack of intelligence. He wasn't rejected for lack of ability. He was rejected because he sounded wrong. Now ask yourself, if a decorated war veteran can be erased by his accent, what chance do the rest of us have? History proves this pattern. When dictators want control, they don't just take weapons, they take voices. Under Franco, Catalan and Basque were banned in Spain. In apartheid South Africa, black students were forced to learn in Afrikaans, the language of their oppressors. Colonizers across the world erased native tongues not to educate, but to humiliate, to force entire peoples into silence. Frantz Fanon understood this better than anyone. To make a man ashamed of his language is to colonize his soul. But here's where dark psychology enters. You don't just change your accent for fun. You change it to survive. Neuroscience shows that every time you adjust your tone, your brain rewires itself. Deeper with authority figures. Softer with friends. Neutral with strangers. Over time, these adaptations don't just change your voice. They change you. Judith Butler called this performance, "Identity isn't fixed. It's rehearsed, day after day, in the accents we keep or kill." So ask yourself, if your voice changed, would you still be the same person? Or would you be reborn as someone else entirely? For centuries, schools and governments were the gatekeepers of language. They decided what was educated, what was beautiful, what was acceptable. But the internet tore down their gates. Twitter crushed language into 280 characters. TikTok turned thick accents into viral signatures. YouTube gave raw, unpolished voices a global stage. For the first time in history, a teenager with a rural accent could lecture on philosophy and reach millions. A migrant could earn more respect through a podcast than in any job interview. But don't celebrate too soon. Because there's a new colonizer now, the algorithm. Speech recognition AI struggles with Black and Latino accents. YouTube has been accused of suppressing videos with non-standard speech patterns. The machine has inherited our bias and now enforces it at scale. This is what Bourdieu called symbolic violence, when one group's way of speaking is imposed as the only legitimate one. It's everywhere. The immigrant told to speak properly. The child mocked for their dialect. The worker skipped for promotion because their grammar wasn't polished. It's not called racism. It's not called classism. It's called correction. And that's what makes it lethal, because it hides in plain sight. But voices fight back. They always do. African-American vernacular English, once ridiculed, became the language of rap, poetry, and global culture. Slang from the margins, once mocked, now dominates memes and pop culture. Indigenous languages, once silenced, are reborn in classrooms and songs. Every accent kept alive is an act of rebellion. Every dialect embraced is a declaration of war against silence. Fanon was right. The first act of colonization is to steal a voice. And the first act of freedom is to take it back. But here's the most unsettling truth. The enemy isn't just out there, it's inside us. One study asked students to transcribe a lecture. Half were told the professor was a native speaker. Half were told he was foreign. The audio was identical. Those who believed he was foreign suddenly couldn't understand. The barrier wasn't in the words. It was in the bias of the listeners. And this happens everywhere, in classrooms, in job interviews, in courtrooms. It's not the accent that blinds us. It's our prejudice. Because your voice is a survival strategy. It's shaped by your family, your tribe, your fears, your desire to belong. It's coded with the history of your people, the power struggles of your nation, the biases of society, and the algorithms of your digital world. And what does it say about you? Everything. It says where you've been allowed to stand. It says what doors were open to you and which were slammed shut. It says how much of yourself you've had to erase to be heard. Your voice is your biography, written in sound. Nietzsche once wrote, "There are no facts, only interpretations." Nowhere is this truer than in language. The same words can make you sound brilliant or stupid, trustworthy or suspect. It doesn't depend on the message. It depends on the messenger. So the real question is this: do you speak to be accepted, or do you speak to be heard? If your voice were different, would your life also be different? And if you changed your voice to please the world, would you still be you? Because in the end, the way you talk is not just a sound. It's a mirror of who you are and who you refuse to stop being. And maybe the greatest act of freedom is not to change your voice, but to never let the world silence it.